Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. We talk a lot on the show about how technology is changing the world, but today we're going to, deep dive into how it's transforming the global economy.
Mm.
And I'm not just talking about the obvious stuff like buying things online,
Right.
e-commerce. We're going way beyond that.
Yeah, think of it as a journey from the early days of,
Yeah.
just buying a book on Amazon to this potential future of the metaverse.
Oh, wow.
We'll be unpacking how technology is reshaping everything from how we work to the way we consume, and even how we think about ownership.
I'm ready. Let's go. So to guide us on this journey, we have a really insightful blog post by Gabriel Budinho.
Oh, yeah, I've read this one.
It's titled De Todo Un Poco, Economía Digital, Mucho Más que E-Commerce.
Catchy.
It was just published November 15th of this year.
Okay.
And it's actually based on a lecture he gave.
Oh, cool.
So it's like it's got that extra layer of depth to it.
Yeah, he starts by reminding us that e-commerce, sure, it was groundbreaking. It made it easier to buy and sell online.
Right.
But the true impact of what we're calling the digital economy goes so much deeper.
Good dad.
We're talking entirely new business models and ways of interacting that we're still trying to wrap our heads around.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. One of the first things Budinho dives into is this concept of the collaborative economy.
Yeah.
Now, we all know about Uber and Airbnb.
Right.
But what makes this different from just, catching a cab or booking a hotel online?
It's a really fundamental shift. We're moving away from those traditional intermediaries like, taxi companies, hotel chains, to a system where people can directly share or rent assets.
Oh, okay.
So, you can become a driver or host without needing that company behind you.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it offers incredible flexibility for workers and consumers.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it also brings in some, pretty big challenges.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it's not just about the convenience factor. There are some bigger implications here, especially when it comes to things like regulations and worker rights.
Precisely. Like take Uber, for example.
Yeah.
Are their drivers employees or are they independent contractors?
Right.
How do we ensure fair labor practices in this new gig economy?
That's a good question.
And then on top of that, you have to think about how to handle things like taxes when services can cross borders so easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's like these traditional systems weren't designed to answer these questions.
No, not at all.
It seems like this digital economy is forcing us to rethink some pretty, fundamental aspects of how the world works.
Absolutely. And, it's not just the collaborative economy.
Right.
Budinho also talks about these massive digital platforms that have emerged, like your Amazons, Mercado Libre. Yeah, these platforms are essentially these powerful ecosystems. They connect suppliers and consumers, but their dominance, it does raise concerns about economic power,
Yeah.
and just the sheer volume of data they're controlling.
Yeah, it's kind of like it makes you wonder,
Right.
How do we ensure that these platforms operate fairly and transparently?
Right.
And how do we protect privacy when our data has become such a valuable thing?
Those are questions that, policymakers, regulators around the world are trying to figure out right now.
Wow.
And it's not just about the data they're collecting. It's about how they use it to shape our choices, our behavior even.
Right. It's like we're not just buying a product on Amazon. It's about the whole ecosystem that surrounds that purchase and how our data is used to create that ecosystem.
Exactly. And this data-driven approach is changing how we consume content, too.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, think about it. Who would have thought we'd be paying monthly subscriptions for everything? Music, movies, software.
I know. It's true. These subscription models like Netflix, Spotify, they've become the norm.
Right.
I can't even remember the last time I bought an actual CD or DVD.
Right. And this shift, it has huge implications for businesses and content creators.
Oh, for sure.
It's all about creating content that keeps users engaged and coming back month after month.
Yeah, it's a totally different way of doing business.
It is, yeah.
Than just, selling individual products.
It makes you wonder, what does this mean for the future of content creation?
Yeah.
Will we see, a decline in quality as companies focus more on just quantity and keeping people hooked?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of content creators are thinking about.
Yeah.
How do you create something compelling when there's just this endless sea of options?
Right.
It's a real challenge.
So speaking of challenges, Budinho also touches on something that feels a little well, sci-fi, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
The metaverse.
Oh, interesting.
Is that really the future of the digital economy? I mean, entire economies operating within these virtual environments.
The metaverse, I mean, it's still early stages.
Yeah.
But it does have the potential to be completely transformative.
Wow.
You've got platforms like Decentraland and Meta's virtual spaces. They're already creating these really immersive digital worlds where you can buy, sell, own digital assets.
But I mean, what happens if you buy like a virtual hat in the metaverse and the platform shuts down?
Right.
Do you actually own anything?
Those are the kinds of questions we're trying to figure out.
It's kind of like the Wild West, right?
It is, a little bit, yeah.
It's exciting, but also a little terrifying.
Definitely uncharted territory.
It is.
But that's what makes it so fascinating to explore.
Yeah.
It challenges us to rethink our assumptions about ownership, about value, even about our digital identities.
This is a lot to take in. It's clear that this digital economy is evolving at an incredible pace.
It is.
And it's touching on, so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah. Right.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Budinho dedicates a good chunk of his post to, really dissecting this tension between innovation and regulation.
Okay.
He argues that while regulation is often seen as a barrier, it can actually be a key ingredient for a sustainable digital economy.
So it's not about stifling innovation.
Right.
But about creating a framework that allows it to flourish responsibly.
Precisely. It's about finding that sweet spot between encouraging innovation and protecting fundamental rights like privacy, security, fairness.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act.
It is. It is. And that's exactly what we'll explore next.
Okay.
How do we balance the incredible opportunities of this digital economy with the need to protect those fundamental rights?
It sounds like a really important discussion to have.
It is.
I'm eager to hear more about, how we can actually strike that balance.
Yeah.
But, I think we've already covered so much ground.
We have.
It's amazing how we've gone from just talking about online shopping to now, grappling with the future of ownership in these virtual worlds.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the power of the digital economy.
It is.
It's constantly evolving.
It is.
It's pushing us to rethink the very foundations of how our world works.
I'm ready for the next stage of our journey.
Let's do it. It's fascinating, how Budinho frames this whole idea of regulation.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it as this obstacle, but almost like a crucial ingredient for a thriving digital economy.
I see. Yeah, because I think a lot of times, we hear regulation and we think, oh, that's going to slow things down.
Right, exactly. But he's saying that it can actually foster a more stable, trustworthy environment where innovation can truly flourish.
So instead of stifling it, well-crafted regulation could actually pave the way for more innovation.
Precisely. It's all about finding that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Between encouraging, all this new stuff, all this creativity, while also protecting those fundamental rights we value.
Right, the privacy, security, the fairness.
Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like a very, very delicate balance to strike.
It is a real tightrope walk.
Yeah, because too much regulation, you can see how that could stifle things.
Right.
But too little.
Yeah.
It could create chaos, open the door for exploitation.
Absolutely. It's about striking that balance where we can harness the power of these technologies, but without, compromising the values that we hold as a society.
So how do we even begin to tackle that? I mean, especially when this digital world is changing so fast.
Right.
I mean, it seems almost impossible for regulators to keep up.
That's the really tricky part, isn't it? It's that the digital world just evolves so rapidly.
Yeah.
So Budinho, what he really emphasizes is the importance of open dialogue, between policymakers, the people developing the technology, and just the public in general.
Right. We need to be adaptable.
Right.
We need to be willing to learn from our mistakes as we go.
So it's not just about setting these rigid rules, enforcing compliance.
No, it's much more dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a responsive approach that can adapt as new technologies come up.
It's really interesting, thinking about it this way, because it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the values, the principles that guide how it's developed and used.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's something that's really important to keep in mind as we move forward.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that the benefits of this digital economy, they're accessible to everyone.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's Boudinot's, call for a more human-centered approach.
Yeah.
It's a vision where technology serves humanity,
Right.
not the other way around.
But is that realistic? I mean, how do we actually make sure these incredibly powerful technologies,
Right.
they're used for good, not for harm?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer.
It requires us to be constantly vigilant,
Wow.
thinking critically, and being willing to have those tough conversations about the ethics of all this stuff.
It feels like this whole digital revolution
It is. It's a revolution.
is forcing us to really confront some fundamental questions about what it means to be human in a world that's so shaped by technology.
Absolutely. It's a time of, immense change and reevaluation. We're being challenged to really examine our values, our priorities, and how we even understand ourselves in this rapidly changing world.
So as we venture further into this uncharted territory, what are some principles we can hold on to?
Well, one thing that Boudinot really stresses is transparency.
Okay.
We need to understand how these technologies work, how they're being used, who's benefiting from them.
Yeah.
It's about shedding light on those algorithms that are shaping our lives,
Right.
holding the people who create them accountable.
Transparency is key.
It empowers us to make informed decisions about how we engage with these technologies, to advocate for change when things aren't right.
Another one that comes to mind is, inclusivity.
Yes.
And we can't let the digital revolution exacerbate the existing inequalities, right?
Right.
So it's crucial that everyone has access to the tools, the resources they need.
Yes. We need to bridge that digital divide and create opportunities for everyone to participate in this new economy.
And I think another important principle is responsibility.
Yes, absolutely.
We all play a role in shaping this digital future.
We do.
So we need to be mindful of our own digital footprints. Demand ethical practices from the companies we interact with.
Yes, engage in those constructive dialogues about the kind of world we want to create.
So it's not just about passively consuming, but actively shaping the development and use in a way that reflects our values.
Exactly. We're not just passengers along for the ride in this digital age.
Yeah.
We are the ones behind the wheel.
It's a very empowering thought.
It is.
It's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
It is. It presents both a challenge and an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's up to all of us to rise to the occasion, Create a digital world that reflects our best intentions, our aspirations.
Boudinot's insights have been so thought-provoking.
They have, haven't they?
He's really helped us understand the nuances, of the digital economy and the importance of finding that balance, that delicate balance between innovation and regulation, between, technological advancement and our human values.
He's given us a lot to ponder.
Yeah.
And I think, what really sticks with me is his point about responsible innovation.
Yeah.
That's a powerful message for all of us to carry forward. It's a call to action.
Yeah.
To participate in this conversation and help shape the digital future we want to see.
What I find so inspiring about his work is that he frames this digital economy as something we're actively creating.
Yes.
It's not just something that's happening to us.
Right.
We have a voice. Our choices matter.
It's an invitation to step into our power, help shape a digital world that benefits everyone.
It's incredible to think that we started this deep dive just talking about e-commerce.
I know.
And now we're grappling with some of the most, profound questions of our time.
That's the beauty of these deep dives.
Yeah.
They allow us to explore, from all these different angles, connect ideas, discover new insights.
I learn something new every time. I'm sure our listeners are feeling, just as inspired and challenged as I am.
I hope so. These are the conversations that help us understand the world,
Yeah.
and empower us to create positive change.
Boudinot ends his post with a really powerful question.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the perfect thing for our listeners to reflect on.
Okay.
He asks, as we move toward an increasingly digital future, how can we ensure a sustainable digital economy where technology and individual rights coexist harmoniously?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It deserves careful consideration.
It does.
There are no easy answers, but by engaging in these discussions, challenging assumptions, working together, we can start to chart a course towards a more equitable and fulfilling digital future.
It's a future worth striving for.
It is.
And it starts with asking the right questions
Mm-hmm.
and daring to imagine a world where technology empowers us without defining us.
I like that.
Now, I think Budinho goes on to discuss some specific areas.
He does, yes.
Where this tension between technology and individual rights plays out.
He delves into a few key conflict points.
Yeah.
I think it would be valuable to unpack those further.
I agree. Let's dive into those specific areas
Hey.
and see what other insights we can glean from Budinho's analysis. So where do we see this tension playing out, in the real world?
Well, one of the big ones Budinho brings up is this clash between user identification and the right to anonymity.
Right. Yeah, we touched on that a bit earlier, talking about, these big platforms and all the data they collect.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Businesses, they need to be able to identify users, prevent fraud, personalize services, comply with all the regulations.
Right.
But at the same time, people have the right to control their information.
Of course.
And, choose when and how they're identified online.
It's almost like a fundamental clash.
It is.
Between, what the system needs and the rights of the individual.
Exactly. And Budinho, he suggests that maybe the answer lies in shifting the power dynamic a little, giving individuals more control over their digital identities.
How would that work?
Well, there are a few ideas out there. Like, one is this concept of decentralized identity systems.
Okay.
Where users actually control their own data.
Oh, why?
Instead of relying on, Google or Facebook to verify who we are, we could have these personal data stores that we manage ourselves.
So we'd be in the driver's seat.
Exactly.
When it comes to our online identities.
Yes. It's a pretty radical shift.
It is.
It would require a lot of rethinking about online trust and verification.
For sure.
But it could give individuals a lot more control over their data.
Yeah. Are there other approaches that could help?
There's also this area of privacy-enhancing technologies.
Okay.
These aim to allow businesses to use data without, compromising individual privacy.
How would that work?
Well, imagine a system where a company could analyze, customer preferences, but without actually knowing who those customers are.
Oh, okay.
They could get those valuable insights without needing that personally identifiable information.
So it's like separating the data analysis from the actual identification of the person.
Exactly. It could be huge for protecting privacy.
And it's not just about anonymity.
Right.
It's about giving users that control over how their data is used.
Exactly. Maybe they're okay with sharing some data for personalized recommendations, but not for targeted advertising.
Right. So it's about having more granular control over how our data is used.
Exactly.
Budinho also mentioned this tension between transaction speed and control.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so true. We've come to expect instant gratification.
We have.
In the digital world.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is.
We want things to happen quickly, seamlessly.
Yeah.
But that speed can also make us vulnerable.
Right. Scams, security breaches.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, how do we balance that need for convenience with security?
Yeah. Tough question.
It is. It's about finding ways to build in safeguards without slowing things down too much. And that's where technology itself can actually help.
Oh, interesting. So we're using technology to solve the problems that technology created.
Kind of, yeah. Think about AI.
Cool.
AI and machine learning, incredibly powerful tools for detecting patterns, anomalies, things that might point to fraud. They can analyze transactions in real time, flag anything suspicious.
So it's like a digital immune system.
Yes, exactly. And you've got other technologies too, like blockchain.
Oh, yeah, blockchain.
It's decentralized, immutable.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tamper with. Huge implications for things like financial transactions, supply chains.
So we're harnessing these technologies to address the very challenges they present.
Exactly.
But what about this whole data analysis versus data protection thing?
Yeah, that's a big one.
How do we make sure businesses can use data to, improve their services without compromising privacy?
Yeah. That's where concepts like data minimization come in. Purpose limitation.
What are those?
It's basically about only collecting the data that's absolutely necessary.
Oh, okay.
For that specific purpose.
Right.
And then securely deleting it when it's not needed anymore.
So being more intentional how we handle data.
Exactly. And, there are some alternative approaches being developed too.
Like what?
Like federated learning.
What's that?
It's a way to train AI models without actually moving the data from its source.
Oh.
So you could train a model on data from, like, thousands of smartphones.
Yeah.
But you never actually collect that data in one central location.
That sounds like a big win for privacy.
It could be. And, it highlights that there are innovative solutions coming out.
Yeah.
It's about thinking creatively, finding ways to unlock the value of data without compromising individual rights.
And of course, we have to talk about the collaborative economy.
Right.
As this model, keeps changing how we work.
Yeah.
How do we ensure fair labor practices and worker protections?
Yeah, that's a crucial question. It needs a multifaceted approach.
What do you mean?
We need solutions that involve policymakers, businesses, and the workers themselves.
So what kind of solutions are we talking about?
Well, one idea is this concept of portable benefits.
Okay.
Things like healthcare, retirement savings that follow workers regardless of their employment status.
Oh, so whether you're a full-time, a freelancer, gig worker.
Doesn't matter. You still have those essential benefits.
That's a really interesting idea.
And, another possibility is exploring new forms of collective bargaining.
Okay.
Traditional unions.
Yeah.
They're often structured around that full-time employment model.
Right.
So we need new models that reflect the realities of the gig economy.
So we need to be willing to rethink these existing systems and regulations.
To meet the challenges of this new world.
Yeah. Boudinho's insights have been so valuable.
They have, haven't they?
He's helped us really understand the complexities and the potential paths forward.
It's a lot to consider.
It is. He's painted a picture of the digital economy.
Yes.
With all its opportunities and challenges.
And those big questions we need to be thinking about.
It really feels like a defining moment, doesn't it?
It does.
And it's up to all of us to shape it in a way that benefits humanity.
He's given us a lot to think about. And, that emphasis on responsible innovation.
Yes.
That's a message we should all take to heart.
It is. We all have a role to play.
We do.
In shaping this future.
Absolutely.
At the beginning of this deep dive, I have to admit, I felt a little overwhelmed.
I can understand that.
It's just so big, so complex.
It is.
But now that we've explored these ideas, I'm actually feeling quite hopeful.
Hopeful?
Yes, hopeful. Because even though the challenges are huge,
they are.
We have the power to shape this world, We
do.
We can make choices that align with our values, create a future that's more just, more equitable.
Absolutely.
More fulfilling for everyone.
I like that. It's not about fearing the future.
No.
It's about embracing it with intention.
Yeah, using our collective wisdom, our creativity, our compassion to navigate these uncharted waters.
Beautifully said.
And create a digital world we can all be proud of.
On that note, I think it's time we surface from this deep dive.
Yeah.
And let our listeners ponder everything we've discussed.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep diving deep.